Hey, what's going, y'all? It's yours truly, the other Ray J, once again. Are men hypergamous? Yes, they are. But, as a disclaimer, not all men, just some. But every man is faced with this idea of hypergamy. I'll talk about that later on here in this video, but let's just talk about just initially. How are some men hypergamous? Well, if you're dealing with a guy that's not really displaying his true manhood, the way he is hypergamous is just based on just how he interacts with other guys. Like if he, you got guys who put down other ones. You know, you got some of these dudes out here, he'll put down another man and what he got going on. Shout out to Ringo. He had a video that talked about broke-minded individuals, how you just got to keep some people out of your circle that aren't about supporting your dreams. They putting you down based on the way you spend your money, or based on the way you live in your life, or based on the type of views you have towards life, maybe the way you do business. However way, these people ultimately are trying to shoot you down. They are not trying to support you. I totally get that. To me, that's not representative manhood, because, you know, for me, it's been always about supporting other people despite them having a different view on things than I do. We may not always have an agree, you know, we may not always agree on everything, but here's the thing, we come to an agreement, which is totally different than actually agreeing. Coming to an agreement is just basically coming to a solution. We're coming together on some things, despite our differences in things. Like, I shy away from those who have a difference of opinion as a man, just as I equivalently would shy away from a female having a difference of opinion with me, because that means that she is not being a submissive woman. So here's the thing, like, it's not feminine for a man to be submissive. See, men, we submit unto each other. See, that's the way they go. A man doesn't submit to a woman. You know, he shows his leadership to a woman. But leaders amongst each other, men, we actually submit unto each other just as we submit unto the Most High Yah. We show each other that through our leadership together, we can actually come to an agreement on things. And this is where I give a special shout out as well to Mr. Limba. He talked about in a recent video about the way two men actually come to an agreement on things is just based on logic. You know, two guys that have an equivalent in capabilities, ideas, shareholders, basically, you use logic. And I totally get that, because you would think that, you know, the best interest is the best interest, whether we combine our interest, or maybe my interest may be better suited for that situation, but then down the road, homeboy, his idea may be better suited for the situation. But either way, we're supporting each other's ideas. We're not having this difference of opinion on things all the time, because if that's the case, we're just merely coexisting. You know, in this day and age, especially moving forward, as men, especially as so-called black men, we got to definitely come together. Instead of all this beefing, instead of all this just, oh man, I ain't feeling what you're saying, I ain't all about that, I disagree and I disagree with that. You know, that just sounds like a lot of what these females do. You know, as a man, I've never come from the position of quickly disagreeing with somebody. Even if it's not an idea that I'm used to, I'm always the type that'll consider what they say. You know, like the old saying goes, take the bitter with the sweet. Now, this leads up to why I feel some men are hypergamous, because some of them, they have those feminine tendencies that just always look for something better, which is based on what hypergamy is overall, you know, because females are always trying to look for something better. So do a lot of lesser guys who ain't real men. They always, well, I ain't feeling you, man. I don't agree with that, and I don't think I'm gonna rock with you. I don't want to talk to you no more. You know, all this and all that BS, you know, right? So he'll probably try to talk to someone he thinks is more like-minded. But the idea of True cooperation is when two people are coming together to solve a problem, to make something happen, to make something pop, if you will, make it on and popping, big things popping. That occurs when two people can come together and come to an agreement on things despite their different backgrounds. That's true cooperation. And I think that's what it really is. It's not really even about agreeing on anything. Coming to an agreement is totally different because it requires cooperation. It requires the fact that normally, you know, what we got going on maybe doesn't happen on a regular basis. But this is where I believe that statement comes from that says the best of both worlds, because, you know, we putting at least our ideas together and we're just going to make this thing happen one way or another. You know, the true gelling of ideas, the true forging of metals. And I think when you got somebody that's just not willing to gel with you as another man, if you will, you can't even look at him the same. You can't even view him as another man around you, because he's this quick to have a disposition with you. It reminds you of an unsubmissive female, man. You know, actually, when a woman submits, on a side note, she's taking on masculine principles. Because it's not natural with female nature for a female to submit. But when a female takes on this act of submission, that female becomes a real woman that's taking on masculine principles. And obviously this does not mean that she's masculine. She's taking on that man's principles. She's attaching herself to him. And so in many ways, when men are loyal to each other and they're devoted to each other, we attach ourselves to each other's principles, if you will. I'm up here thinking about some other things I have in mind. I may be doing a part 2 of this video because there's so much that I'm trying to put out with this. But yeah, at least for now, I'm gonna put together this idea of how hypergamy does affect men overall, because as I said, I was going to talk about this later on. Well, more or less it's in the corporate world where hypergamy affects men. And because we all, you know, let's face it, most of us got a 9 to 5. Most of us do. A majority of us got a 9 to 5. Even yours truly, the other Ray J. But I've been working on solving that problem. But I'll get to that solution. But the main reason as to what the main reason I wanted to address this, because I want to talk about that problem. The problem with these 9 to 5s and how it makes men hypergamous is, shoot, every man always trying to look for something better. In the corporate world, we know that these jobs don't pay us enough. We know that we're not getting the attention that we deserve, per se. You know, a man doesn't obviously long for validation. A real man don't. But you got to think about it in the corporate world, where you're made to work all these hours. What you getting for that? So it unfortunately makes a man have to think from a feminine perspective, to make you think, what am I getting out of this? If I'm working hard, what am I getting out of this? Just like a woman would, just like a female, if you will, would think. A man shouldn't have to get to the point where he thinks this way. He should be able to get to work knowing that he got benefits, everything that was discussed in the interview, that he signed on the dotted line, that he signed on the dotted line for. Okay, he's got the benefits, he's got the decent pay, he's got the schedule he desires. You know, he's fulfilling every company policy that they have for him. Oh, and that brings up the other idea that men having something to bring to the table at these jobs. That puts a man in another feminine position. For a man to have something to bring to the table when the man should be the table. The man is the establishment. You already have this establishment. It's this idea of the woman having something to bring to the table of your establishment. So what happens when a man has to bring something to the table of another man's establishment? That puts a man in a feminine position. So let's get to the solution of this problem. The only solution to this problem is to be self-employed, or to be self-employed as much as possible. So the way you do this is just to make sure that every job, every 9 to 5 that you have, make those part-time so that you got time to continue to work on your self-employment. So the more your self-employment grows, the less you depending on those 9 to 5, the less likelihood you feel like you in a feminine situation, a feminized situation, that is, where you have to come to an employer to have something to bring to the table like a woman, and then thinking about what you're getting out of this. And then indirectly thinking about the attention that you feel like you deserve. had to get over these rumbles. But one way to kind of rid yourself of that attention factor in these corporate jobs is just more or less just be in your own lane. It's a temporary situation. It has to be, because especially if you know you're not getting paid enough and you're not getting your benefits and you feel like you're being worked like a slave, you're gonna be trying to not be at that job too long. And yes, unfortunately, maybe find a better job that's more suited for you. Notice I said find a better job that's more suited for you, because the idea is now you don't want to feel like you're going to be in another feminine situation. Find a better job that's more suited for you. Once again, it goes back to it being a part-time job, or even you can make that current job part-time, but it's better suited for you and for your schedule as you work more towards starting your own business, having your other sources of income to where you're not dependent on the job in many ways, because you know they're never going to give you that attention you deserve, and that's not what you want as a man. Is that kind of attention. You want to take care of you. You want to take care of you, and only you know what you deserve. These jobs could care less about what you deserve. I'd say the closest you can get to that is if you work for a family-owned business that represents you like you represent them. They let you be your own boss. Maybe some type of outfit as a trucker where you can be your own owner, operator of that tractor, and you just go in there and you help them out. You know, some of these jobs kind of lie to men. They say help wanted, but that's not what they mean. They mean slaves wanted. Think about that. So, yeah, but that's just kind of sort of an idea on my end of how men are hypergamous. But at least with some men, they are truly hypergamous more than others. Oh yeah, I was thinking also, yeah, it seemed, and I might not need a part 2 video because I think I remember what I was trying to say initially. Overall, you might, Coach Greg Adams, he has said something very important as well, like in regards to just when I know amongst marriages, when men give a significant contribution or give a lot of their time within, I would say, a few years, that's when a chick will do a bait and switch on him. You know, as Coach Greg Adams put it, a woman would do a bait and switch on that man after a few years of his contribution and his time. And I think that a lot of guys do the same thing. They're very hypergamous like that. They do a bait and switch. After you look out for them, after you've been there for them in some ways, now they start to have a difference of opinion. Now they're not feeling you like that. You help them get on their feet. You put them on. Now they put you out. Just saying, man. That's how some dudes are hypergamous. But obviously some are more hypergamous than others. Some want to be and some choose to be, but others, they had to be, but they get out of that crap by being their own boss. Signing out.